The aspect of spiritual awakening that I feel is so important to focus on, one aspect, perhaps the most important aspect, is that of our engagement with this world and with others, and the way in which we who have any kind of success, whether that's in material ways, monetarily, socially, deal with those who do not. Not just those who are failures, but those who might be unattractive, repulsive, even those who have severe mental issues or are caught in forms of bigotry or ignorance. I posted something recently that says, and I'm paraphrasing, but says, those who are awakened have no interest in judging those who aren't. You know, the truly awakened individual has no interest in judging those who are at a different level of consciousness or place in their journey as a soul. Of course, we recognize patterns and recognize behaviors which are ignorant or harmful to a free world or spiritual development, but that's different than judging or condemning. And beyond this, when we address the idea of a better world, an enlightened world, a good world, a free world, a spiritual world, we have to understand that the only path there is through a kind of powerful compassion and connectivity between human beings that we do not see at all in the world today. Not in the mainstream reality, social reality, certainly, but also not within alternative realities, including spiritual ones. There are some movements or communities that come closer to that. One would be the Catholic Worker Movement, which believes in radical hospitality toward the poor and homeless, in which individuals choose to live in community with those they consider disenfranchised by the system, or those who are clearly dealing with extreme poverty or mental illness. This movement, founded by Dorothy Day, is a movement to try to live the words of Jesus Christ in terms of, it's by this you'll be known as my disciples, that you have love for one another. Love one another as I have loved you. It was about this radical love and connecting and caring in a way that would transform the lives of the unfortunate or lost. The other example I would use is that of the Shasta Abbey Buddhist monastery, which I spent some time at several years ago, where these monks invite any member of the public to come and live at the monastery free of charge, as long as they are experiencing the practice that the monks live by themselves. So you would wake up at 4 a.m., you would do meditation, you would help with chores, you would do more meditation, you would eat together, and it was an open invitation to anyone interested in this life to come and simply be there and participate and experience it without any expectation or cost. This kind of open door that allows individuals who are not capable or do not have means to still be present and part of the evolving culture, the emerging culture, the awakening culture, that is vital. Because if the emerging and awakening culture is one which is closed off to those without talent or beauty or attractiveness or money or other means or, whatever it might be, if it's closed off to those ones, the undesirable ones without resources, then it is not truly a awakened reality that we're creating. And in communities that have much to offer in terms of new social structures or radical creative expression, I see a dire lack of true compassion and inclusion. An example of this would be Burning Man. I am an admirer of Burning Man in terms of the radical expression which I feel is an aspect of individuation. That ability to freely express anything that's inside of us through our art, through our nudity and body painting, through our dance, through our expression of any kind, as long as we're not hurting and destroying another, to have that right to experience drugs or all-night dancing or sharing in any way you might desire, finding those who also have that desire and sharing. That's a beautiful thing. And yet, Burning Man as an institution is utterly closed off to those who are without means. It is not a true community in the sense that it is expensive, and apart from money, the way to get access would be by being someone with great talent or beauty or something to offer along these lines, which is all fine and good if we're just thinking about an event embedded within a mainstream culture that is cold and closed off to the incapable and the lost. But I'm talking about a new culture which is trying to emerge in such a way that the world is transformed. I'm talking about a new culture which is the culture of spiritual evolution. And that culture cannot be limited to those who have means or talent or beauty or whatever it is that would grant people access to it. The lack of real inclusion is one of the core impediments to a truly awakened human family emerging. It's this sense that we will create a human family with those we like, those who have much to offer. Of course, we all want that. I want to be engaged with those I like and those who have much to offer me, those who like me. And that's fine personally. It's absolutely our right to engage with some and not with others. That is absolutely our right on an individual basis. But once again, when we're speaking of a new culture and a culture of awakening, of spiritual awakening and evolution, we must challenge ourselves to understand how we can create a free and beautiful culture which has a way to include those who aren't free or beautiful. That is the challenge. When I think of the community that I would like to create, a community that is like Burning Man in the sense that it has incredible self-expression and art, a community that is about showing how we can live together with respect to each other's differences, how we can balance radical sharing with autonomy, individual rights and preferences, individual relationships and space. When I think of that community, I automatically envision an aspect of hospitality, an aspect in which those who are lonely and lost and ugly and unwanted are invited in at some level, not necessarily the most deep and intimate levels, because like a human being, an individual, a community will have places where there is only access to those who um, are part of an intimate relationship, not sexually, but part of an intimate friendship, a family of those who have shown they are trusted and trustworthy. As an individual, there are people that I trust and people that I don't. And in my most intimate places, my room, my little apartment, whatever it might be, I have the right to my own space, and I have the right to invite in those I trust, those whose energy I find enhances my life. But that's one thing. I can't have that be everything. That's my inner sanctum. But somewhere within a collective community, there has to be a level of access for those who might not be trustworthy, who might not be people I'm comfortable with, who might seem bigoted, who might be ugly, who might be mentally unstable, who might be dirty or penniless, or whatever it is that keeps them from finding inclusion. They need to be included at some level. It may not be the most core, intimate levels of that community, just as it would not be with a single individual, but they must be included. A place has to be made at the table for all. That's what's lacking in Oregon Country Fair and Burning Man, so many communes and alternative movements. There's a lack of compassion. How do we miss this? I mean, the Rainbow Family, the Rainbow Gatherings, is another example of the positive sense of including everyone, but it's one which actually lacks the other thing. It lacks structure and awareness and personal space and things like that. You can't make it one or the other. This is another dire mistake, that either we live according to a mainstream value of our life is separate, we include only those we like or are comfortable with, everyone else is kept out, those who are different are less than us, or we try to ignore so many realities of the human need for space and choice and include everyone, which just doesn't work either. And the ideals behind that might be beautiful, but it doesn't work in that particular form, not in a long-term sustainable fashion. I write about this in terms of human sustainability, not environmental. That for a community to be sustainable, it has to be realistic, and it has to acknowledge the variation of human need and desire. So acknowledging that as well as opening itself up. And when we balance that, when we understand we do have the right to choose our relationships, not to associate intimately with those we are not comfortable with or don't trust, then we can be more giving and open to all, because we clearly understand we have that right. If we're fighting, ourselves, maybe feeling guilty about it, and then we'll push everyone away because we don't have boundaries, we haven't worked it through in our heads. Well, it would be nice if we could work this shit through in our heads and get it clear, so that we can have our personal space, we can understand the need for that, the human need for space and choice. We can completely guilt-free be that way, and then understand there also has to be a place made for everyone at some level of whatever community or culture we're creating, the new human family. And that place would allow the world to become less cold. When you're a homeless person, a penniless person, or when you're just not socially capable at all, or going through a really depressed time and don't have family or friends. The world is a cold, cold place, and all the beautiful people and the art and the alternative community and even the homeless shelters, which are often really just degrading, horrible places, truly. All of the things that are there do not prevent the world from being a cold, cold, closed door. And that has to change if we want to claim an enlightened culture. There has to be a human family that has the awareness to know what its needs are in terms of space and choice, but a strength and a security that allows it to include everyone who wishes to be included at some level, some basic level, so that it's not a cold, closed door. Because whatever your view of yourself or what you're doing might be, if from the outside you're a cold and hostile, closed door, that is not spiritual, not in a deep and truly impactful way.